Welcome to C Programming Tutorials. This is a production of YouTube channel Learnorama and the Facebook page Awesome C Programming Tutorials in High Def. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so and also become a fan of the page as well. Okay, in today's tutorial we are going to learn about how to delete data from a file. Now, quite a few people a few of my students have asked me to cover this topic, so I guess here it is. I think we are ready to cover it right now. We have enough knowledge and information from the previous tutorials. Okay, so let's get started. Now in this tutorial we are not going to, I don't think we will get to the point where we'll, at least in this video we won't be able to get to the point where we'll be writing the code itself, because we are going to look at the concept or the process behind deleting data from a file. Now unfortunately in C there is, so suppose this is a file that we are going to deal with. Okay, the name of the file is abcd.txt and it contains a bunch of names here. Okay, so now notice that there is this name Joe coming up again and again. Okay, and suppose in this file we have to delete, get rid of this name for whatever reason. Okay, so we are going to delete this. Our goal is to change this file into a file with the same name abc.txt, which will contain all these names except Joe. So there is one occurrence here, there's another occurrence here, there's another occurrence here, another occurrence here, and then another occurrence of Joe here, and we want all these to be deleted, not to be the part of this file anymore. Okay, that's what our target is. So it's a very simple example just to illustrate the process, but the process itself is very generic. Okay, think of this as one record. Okay, like information about a student. So it could be multiple lines. So it may not be just one line. It could be like 3 lines or 4 lines or whatever, and then followed by another record which looks exactly the same, and so on. But you have some records that you have to delete, right? And you can identify, you can tell, you have a way of telling that this record needs to be deleted. That's very important. In this particular case, how do we tell? It says Joe. If it says Joe, we need to delete it. Okay, but you have to have some way of knowing that this record needs to be deleted. Once you know that, then you could basically read one record at a time and then you could delete it. And this is what the process. There are actually different ways of doing it. Many ways are relatively simpler, but they are operating system dependent. Okay, if you write the code which is operating system dependent, then you cannot port it. What does that mean? That means that it will be very specific to either, for example, Windows or Linux, or or some other operating system that you are working with. Okay, Mac or whatever, because the file system is actually part of the operating system. Okay, so it's very easy to write a code which is very operating system dependent, but here we are trying to come up with an algorithm that will allow you to delete the data from a file, and still you will be able to write code which is not operating system specific. Okay, now it's and also we want to stay very as simple as possible. At the same time, we have to make it, all the time my goal is always to keep things simple as possible. So keeping these constants in mind, let's see how we are going to do. So what we are going to do, the main idea is that instead of reading one line at a time, one simple way would be to open a file, open this file, and then open another file with some other name. Okay, like maybe abc.tmp or something, and open this file in the read mode, open the other file in the write mode. You read this one line and you look at it. You say, do we have to keep this line? If yes, then you write it to the other line, other file. If no, then you don't write, you skip it. You don't write to that other file. So you read Larry. Yes, we want to keep Larry. We write it to the other file. Then Joe, we don't want to keep Joe, so we don't write to the other file. And Frank, we want to keep it, write to the other file. Kelly, write to the other file. Joe, don't write to the other file, and so on. And then when you are done with all this, you have this file ready without this Joe in it anywhere. okay, and then you close both of the files. Now you have that file ready. The problem is that that file name of that file is not the same as this file. So what you have to do is you have to copy that file over to this file, and to copy that file over to this file you have to use operating system command to copy it, and that's where the problem is, okay. Or you could basically read from that file and then write on top of this file. Open this file in W mode and write on top of this file, and you close it, and you could do it that way also, okay. Another way is to read one line at a time and put it in the memory, and bring the whole thing in the memory first, and then write to this file. That way you won't even need the other file. In the previous example, the other file will stay there unless you delete it, and again, to delete it you will need the operating system call, okay. So if you really don't want the temporary files to be lying around in your system, then this is what you will have to do. The idea is to read one line at a time into the memory, into a buffer, okay, if you want to keep that line. If you don't want to keep that line, you don't put it in that buffer. So you read Larry, you put it in that buffer. You read Joe, you don't put it in the buffer. You read Frank, you put it in the buffer, and so on. So to demonstrate, so let's say there is a buffer. Now what is a buffer? Buffer is simply a big long array of bytes or characters, right? So it has lots and lots of characters. It will be as big as you expect the file to be, okay. So if you expect the file to be very big, like you know, I don't know, like 10 kilobytes, then you make it 10 kilobytes. If you expect it to be 1 megabytes, you make it 1 megabytes. Now obviously there is a limit. Files can be very huge. Files could be in gigabytes also. Memory usually you don't have that kind of memory usually. So in this algorithm, this is a constraint that you can use it only when you know that your file sizes are not going to be too big, which usually most of the time that would be the case, at least in your in your homeworks, for example. Now then what we are going to do is, okay, we need a temporary variable, say line also, right? We'll call it line. It's a string, okay. It will have some bytes, also some characters also, to read each line. The size of this variable would be as big as you expect each line to be, okay. So in this particular example we have very small lines, so we are going to keep it like, say, 21, okay. So in this here, there are more bytes than more boxes here than it's shown right here. Now what we are going to do is we are going to read the first line and store it here, obviously. Let me write it here, Larry, okay. And then we will say, okay, is Larry the same as Joe? Because we don't want to write Joe, okay, but we will write anything which is not Joe. So if Larry is not Joe, we copy it into buffer here, Larry. Now notice, as we said before, that if you use fgets to read this line, it will have \n also, the new line character also. If you did not watch the previous tutorial, I would recommend that you do so. I will try to put the link over here on the screen as well. If you see the link, just click on it. So we use fgets to read it, and it will put the new line character, because there is a new line character at the end of this string here, because that's why Joe is on the next line, okay. So we'll put it as is here. Then next line we are going to read, it's Joe. So is it the same as Joe? Yes, it is the same as Joe. So we don't want to write it in this buffer. Then we are going to write another next line, which is Frank. And is it the same as Joe? No, it is not the same as Joe. So we are going to write Frank here, FRANK \n. This will be in this file, in this variable right here, okay. I think I'm going to stop here, and I'll continue this in the next video. Please continue to watch. Thank you so much.